All right. Wait. I forgot how we start the show.
Ooh, robot voice.
Uh,
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Oklahoma Today podcast. My name is Ben Lucian. I'm your host, and today you were watching me from this box, and that is because we are recording this during the infamous Oklahoma February Ice Week that we're recording this during. I miss warmth, but most of all, I miss seeing my colleagues. So this whole podcast is pretty much just a ruse to get them to spend some time with me. Today, the subject of the show is someone who never had to make a Zoom call. That is Mr. Bob Wills, the father of Western swing music. It is the legendary Bob Wills birthday bash at Cain's Ballroom, February or March 8th and 9th. And then after that, in Oklahoma City at the state capitol is Bob Wills Day at the state capitol on March 10th. So we're talking to Jason Roberts, the current band leader of the Bob Wills Texas Playboys. He's going to be a lot of fun to talk to. But first, a quick reminder, please hit subscribe. Not already done so. We have a 200 subscriber goal by July 1st. With your help, I know we can get there. Now let's go ahead and hear from the rest of our colleagues. How are you all sort of holding up during these cold
Cold.
conditions? Yes.
I've got a blanket.
hmm You look probably the warmest out of everyone, but that might
This is
just be the blanket.
my Pendleton blanket. My mom got this for me for Christmas at the FAM store.
Mhm.
So tourism angle,
Ah, that is a
yeah.
beautiful blanket. Really.
Right? Great.
Mhm.
And over my Okie sweatshirt. Buy
Yeah,
yours now. Shoptravelok.com.
we can all layer up in tourism approved items.
Hey, I have mine on right now.
Nice.
Nice.
Yes, of course. Well,
I don't have
I
my glasses on. I had to get really close to see that.
yeah, please bear with us through this Zoom recording session. Um, I don't know if you all are like me, but I'm pining for the warmer days when we can go out and explore Oklahoma, have some adventures.
Yes.
Those days will probably be here by the time the show comes out. Uh, and March, April is actually our new adventure issue, which is on newsstands starting in March.
Yeah.
And so that got me thinking about maybe doing a little story time, talking about what adventures that we've had in Oklahoma. So our question of the week this time is tell me about a memorable adventure you had in Oklahoma. So first off, editor-in-chief Nathan Gunner, I know it's literally our job to take Oklahoma adventures. So you've got to narrow it down to just like a one or two.
Well, as anyone who reads this issue of the magazine will discover, everyone's definition of adventure is a little bit different. But I think, and there's a photo of this in this issue, but I think going noodling in
Mm,
2012 for a story that I did about noodling, that was wild. I never would have expected that's something I would ever do. I had an absolute ball. I would completely do it again. It was not scary. It was quite a lot of fun. And everything that people, when I tell people about it, they mention like some specific fears about it, and like every one of them is addressed like before you even get in the water. Like, here's how not to have this happen to you. So like even just going in, I felt really confident. I felt like our guides are really knowledgeable, and just had a blast. I had a total great time.
Noodling.
Noodling. I am.
The
Say,
idea of noodling kind of scares me just because just
yes.
interacting with these giant animals, that's just
Yes.
scary.
I mean, like they even said, like when it bites down on your hand, here's what it's going to feel like.
hmm
Like they were like that specific about like preparing you kind of mentally for what you were going to experience.
But I also feel like after you've committed and after you've maybe got grabbed the first fish, maybe you settle into it. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. The first fish I had was like a channel cat. Like it wasn't like a big one, you know? And I had it by that like in my hand like this and it swam away.
Right.
So,
All
you just get better at it as you keep going, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
right.
I'm really glad
Well,
I did it.
maybe I'll schedule my noodling trip here soon. Senior editor Carly Ibarra, what is a memorable Oklahoma adventure you had?
I've had so many, it's really hard to choose which one to talk about. I think probably one of my favorites because Philip got to go with me on this one was when we went and stayed in a covered wagon overnight at Robbers Cave State Park. And we went horseback riding like around the park first, which was really fun, except that my horse was actively trying to knock me off the entire time. But then we stayed in the covered wagon, and it was the absolute worst night of sleep I've ever gotten in my life, but it was still really awesome because it's absolutely beautiful out there. You can see like really cool stars and everything. But it was also my first time ever using an outhouse. So
That's
that
an
is,
adventure
no.
in and of itself.
yeah. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience, and I highly recommend it. If you are the type of person who is cool with like tent camping and stuff like that, if you're like a cabin girly, like I normally am, then it might not be your cup of tea. You can go horseback riding though, and then stay in cabins in the park.
Hey, and those cabins just got refurbished and they're all
Mhm.
really, really, really nice now. Yeah, Robbers Cave rocks.
Yes. Well, speaking of someone who knows a lot about state parks, our very own research editor Kirsten Stone, you wrote the state park adventure guide, right?
I did, and there's also a blog about it now.
Yeah. You got it all covered. Is that the memorable adventure you're gonna tell us about, or do you have something else in mind?
I I'm sure I have like plenty more, but the first one that came to my mind when I thought about like a memorable adventure was like several summers back. My best friend and I, we were doing a bucket list before she moved to Kentucky for optometry school. But we donated to go do a sunrise hike in the Wichitas. So it kind of starts out a little bit less more or more memorable than the adventure itself because we were like, oh, like we're not gonna wake up in time to do this. So we stayed up the entire night before and then drove out at I think it was like 5:30ish and then drove to the mountains so we could like climb up one of the trails as the sun was coming up and watch it. And then we went into Medicine Park, had breakfast, and went back home and went to bed.
Wow.
That's awesome.
But you were up the entire night before that. Like, were you just absolutely exhausted after this? Or
I
was
went
it
home and
youthful
went to
energy?
bed and we made a lot of coffee through the night and just like binge
Uh,
watched a new Netflix show and just hung out and then got ready to go as it was time.
yes.
That
And
sounds
so,
really
and
fun. I
how,
want to do that now.
It was
yeah,
fun. It was a good little time.
I might just copy that adventure. That sounds fun.
Do it. It's fun.
I will copy it, but with maybe 30% more sleep. I need at least that much. Photo editor Megan Rossman, do you have a memorable Oklahoma adventure to share with us?
Aside from the
This
last
week?
few days, my furnace just went out again as I was speaking, so that's great.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've been to so many state parks. I think one of the most memorable adventures was the time that Nathan, Steffi, and I, our former editor, went to Black Mesa.
That was a good trip.
Yeah, I think it was in like April of maybe 2013
I
or
believe you're right. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember it being April, and I want to say either 2013 or 2014, but I think 2013.
Yeah,
Was
and that was a lot of fun. I'd never been to Black Mesa. It takes so long to get out. I mean, it's what, like 7 hours?
6.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's just so remote. Like I think we saw like two other people the whole time were there aside from the B&B owners, and one of them was the mailman. So it was, yeah, there's just like nothing out there. It's just unlike anywhere else in the state.
So
But
I
for
will say
me,
it is worth every second of that drive.
Yeah,
I
no,
love that drive. I'm very weird in that I really, 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 really love that drive. Like I actually enjoy it, but I know most people don't. But even if you
my
don't
favorite.
enjoy it at all, like going to Black Mesa is absolutely worth the drive.
Yeah. You
yes,
got to do it at least once. Like, so
is
Yeah.
definitely an Oklahoma bucket list item. And for being
Sure.
so remote, it is like it's like nothing else. Like scenery wise, like
mhm.
it's close to New Mexico, but it's not really like anything in New Mexico. It's very like distinct, like the whole like that whole area, just
Mhm.
very beautiful. I have to say.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's one of the best spots in the state.
Hmm. Now, it is
What
some
about you, Ben?
my adventure, yes. And there's a few I could choose from, but I think the most memorable one for me would have to be my whole like bee honey saga with where I went out and I collected
Yeah,
honey. This was before I officially had like full-time work here.
you
I was
freelanced this
Oklahoma Today
story.
contributor. Yes.
That was a really good story.
Yeah, yeah, I had a lot of fun. So for people who didn't get to see that story, I did. I went out and I did the whole like from hive to plate thing. So I went out and I collected the honey out in it was near Jay, Oklahoma, which is just as nearly in Arkansas, like the far eastern border. Yes.
And buried under a foot of snow as we speak.
Yes, that is true. It seems like eastern and southeastern Oklahoma has been getting a lot of snow recently. So,
Yeah, they got it hard. Anyway,
but yes, so my grandfather actually does. He's a beekeeper too, but I've never really messed around with it. So it was cool getting to put on the bee suit and just to have the swarm around me. That is not something I ever really pictured myself doing. But I'm glad I got to check it off the list. Yeah, it was a lot of
good,
fun.
good. I
Yeah,
like that. Did anybody get a chance to answer on social media?
they did. They did. We had a few answers. Diane Foster Carpenter said hiking the highest point in Oklahoma at Black Mesa State Park. Yes, that is a classic Oklahoma bucket list thing to do. And then we had
One of my favorite all-time photos of Megan Rossman, by the way, was taken on that hike, and she's just walking like this because she's so tired.
Yes.
I actually wasn't that tired yet. I was very irritated that the path to the actual mesa it is not a direct path.
No, it's very windy, very
illogical.
twisty.
Very windy.
It's a cattle trail. So
Very twisty.
anyway.
And it's
Yeah.
hard to gauge your progress because it's not really much. It's not a summit. You kind of like go up to the top and it's sort of flat level.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Way to go, Diane, though.
Yes,
That's very cool.
yes. Therese Duncan Anderson says camping at Fort Cobb Lake. Yeah, that
Lovely.
sounds like a great time.
Love it there.
And then finally, Nate's mom, Kathy, good old Kathy. She
Hi,
said
Mom.
golfing anywhere in Oklahoma.
I knew that's what she was going to say, too.
Yes.
7-time, I don't know how many times, multiple-time early wine club champion, Kathy Gunner.
Golfing is always an adventure with me because I always get to see all the parts of the course that aren't touched by many other
You're not
people.
supposed to see.
All the little nooks and crannies that go unnoticed by most people.
Well, if you ever want lessons, talk to Kathy. I'm sure she'd be happy to teach you.
Yes, Kathy could give me some great tips, I'm sure.
Yeah, she could.
All right, well, that's been fun, but let's go ahead and kick it over to Jason Roberts, who's going to tell us about the Bob Wills Birthday Bash. All right, so joining me, as promised, with absolutely no technical difficulty, the man who is keeping the Bob Wills tradition alive. I'm talking to Jason Roberts, current band leader and fiddler for the Bob Wills Texas Playboys. Jason, how are you doing today?
Hello, Ben. I'm doing fine. You know what Bob Wills would say if he was here?
What would he say?
Oh,
Yes, I was waiting for it. I knew that's exactly what he would say, but I had to make you do it anyway. Also joining us today is Brett Bingham, who, along with the writer John Wooley, put together a really fantastic history of Cain's Ballroom called 21st-Century Honky Tonk. Brett, thank you also for joining us today.
Of course. Glad to be here.
Yes. So, Jason, we have to be talking about Bob Wills because we've got some big things going on in Oklahoma this week. First of all, the Bob Wills Birthday Bash coming up March 8th and 9th at Cain's Ballroom. Of course, an annual beloved tradition. And then also after that in Oklahoma City at the state capitol is Bob Wills Day at the state capitol on March 10th. So, Jason, I guess the number one question is how does someone sort of wind up in your position? How does someone rise to the level of leading the Bob Wills Texas Playboys?
Humbly and lucky, you know. No, I really I think the kind of the crux of how it all happened was our connection with the Texas Playboys, and the guys that carried on the band for years and years after Bob Wills had passed away. Of course, Leon Rausch, Bob's last great vocalist. He led the band up until 2019 when he kind of passed the torch to us. And so, but growing up in Texas, and I know it's like that in Oklahoma too, but Bob Wills music is part of the culture, and it was a way, kind of a way of life, and played in my home, since I was a little bitty thing, and so I feel like really I've been practicing my whole life kind of to assume the mantle and take Bob Wills music to everywhere we can, and do it with the respect and the authenticity that it deserves, and as much of that humility and respect as we can muster, which is a lot, because right. It don't matter who's anywhere. Wills is still the king.
Yes.
So it's really a privilege to keep it going and do what we can do to honor the Bob Wills musical legacy. So,
when did your musical journey sort of begin? And I guess also, were you sort of born with the aha, or did you have to work on perfecting that?
Well, I of course worked on it for years, and we through my time with Asleep at the Wheel, even Ray Benson and Asleep at the Wheel. Of course, the Wheel has always done a lot of Bob Wills tunes, their music over the years, but we also did a stage show, kind of Broadway style, starting in 2005 to commemorate Bob Wills' 100th birthday. And so I got the lead role as young Bob Wills, so I really had to start working on the dancing and the hopping and the kind of his mannerisms, along with the ahas, and so that actually helped me a lot, just kind of digging in to thankfully we have some footage of Bob Wills television stuff that they did in the 50s and the late 40s and 50s, but it's definitely something that I had to work on a little bit, and now it comes so naturally that I can't not do it.
Yeah, right. Do you have a favorite Bob Wills song to perform out of all of them?
Probably, I actually have a lot of favorites, but the big ones, of course, Faded Love in San Antonio Rose, those songs are, they're so timeless and they mean something to people, like I can't, every time we play Faded Love, somebody comes to me and tells a story about how that song connects them with somebody in their life. That was my mom and dad's favorite song, and they used to, I hear that one a lot, and it's meaningful, and it tells me that we're doing our job. When I look down there in that front row and I see the little ladies clapping and I see the little men bawling, I mean, it's, we know that music's a great communicator and it's a powerful, powerful thing. But those two songs still seem to resonate with people, whatever, 70 years later or however long it's been. And, Faded Love, I've played it at weddings and funerals and dances, and it's just, people always love it. And if nobody wants to dance, you play that song, Morning or Silver Wings or Faded Love, and the dance floor fills up,
Yes, so the Texas Playboys, though, they knew exactly what they were doing, for sure. Yeah. So you've played, obviously, you've done the Bob Wills birthday bash before at Cain's Ballroom. What's it like sort of to hold court there in the home that, Bob Wills sort of reigned over for so long in that building?
Sorry, Ben, my dog is going crazy.
Oh, we couldn't hear it actually, or at least I couldn't. Did you hear the question?
Cain's Ballroom was where it all started for Bob Wills. It's kind of the mecca that, you go back there and you can just feel it in that building and the way they still run the place. But to me, it's just got that soul. And I mean, if those walls could talk, there's so many great artists that have been through there over the years, and people, loving to dance, and so it was an important cultural gathering place. But to also have it be the birthplace of Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys. I mean, that's where they famous.
Mm-hmm.
And so to go back there, it definitely gives you a feeling. And I just imagine that it still is as it was in the 1930s when Bob Wills was there. I mean, people come and they want to hear that music and they want to dance.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something that has perpetuated for so long. And, I can still just see it in my mind the way it was in 1936 and 37, whatever, and I can't help but to think that there are many similarities still. So that makes me feel good.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know how else to say it. It's just if you're talking Bob Wills, Cain's Ballroom is the church of Bob Wills,
Yes. Well, Brett, can you help put into perspective for us just how big and like consequential Bob Wills was to the history of Cain's Ballroom and also the history of music, in Tulsa and in Oklahoma, to the fact that we're still honoring the Bob Wills legacy here on nearly getting close to a century later. So,
yeah. So I guess where I would argue that without Bob Wills, Cain's may not have survived through the Depression and the war, if you will. Not spoiler alert. There was many times where the Cain's Ballroom almost died, but one of them was it was only built in 24, and then, but by the time Bob Wills came along, the dance academy wasn't necessarily a thriving part of it. Mr. Cain was old and not in good health, and they were trying to do things there that weren't very successful. And then here comes Bob Wills. Literally, he's fairly new to Tulsa, just starting to make his mark, just starting to record, and they were hired to play a dance in January 1st, 1935, at the Cain's Ballroom, and as Bob puts it, made a deal that night to come in there and move all their Thursday and Saturday dances and their broadcasts there. So, and it became, and that's at a time when you had them broadcasting daily over KVOO as well as 2 nights a week. And it not only put KVOO on the map and Bob Wills on the map, because now he's recording and becoming a big star, but it also put Cain's Ballroom on the map, and people, and I think it helped them survive and become the building that it was. And, I do have to mention I have quite a bit of visual images of what I think it was probably like in the 30s. I've seen tons of pictures. I have an idea of what it might have been like. And if I had a time machine, that's probably the period that I would go back to. Yeah. But I sit back there in the back year after year, and to me, it's as close as you're going to see to what it was like in that period when, the guys look so good on stage, and it's kind of eerie in a way. And but the point I wanted to make too is to honor that tradition of broadcasting like they did. The first hour of the first night is a live radio broadcast. John Wooley has a radio show on Public Radio Tulsa that he's been doing for many, many years now. And every year he comes in, we do that live. So the first hour will be live. We want everybody to come to the show, but if you can't, you can at least hear the first hour at publicradiotulsa.org. So,
yes,
shameless plug there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Please tune in for that, because that's the way so many people enjoyed Bob Wills over the years, through the magic of radio. Jason, do you have leading the Texas Playboys, has that given you any kind of new respect or perspective on all the work that the Bob Wills bunch was putting into these performances, which would happen close to every day, I think?
Well, absolutely. It takes a village to put on a good show, and it takes a special human being to manage, people in particular. But yeah, to keep all of that together, and excuse me,
Yeah.
I think part of Bob Wills' brilliance was not only his ability to kind of manage and really get the most out of his guys. Johnny Gimble said, "Boy, you point that fiddle bow at you. He wanted you to play everything you knew." Those guys all wanted to please him and make him proud, and so it literally elevated their musical game just to be around him, be on the bandstand with him. But he also hired good players to start with, and good people around him, and kind of just let them be themselves. So that it was a winning combination, of all of those things. Um, and Brett and I have done much the same in assembling the current iteration of Bob Wills Texas Playboys. Of course, many of our guys have worked with the band for many years under Leon Roush, who led the band. And they're all good players and good guys. And so that's kind of our philosophy too, is to hire the right people and let them be themselves. And it's working.
Right. Brett, I had another question for you. Is there any aspect, do you think, of the Bob Wills Texas Playboys that you think is sort of goes under the radar, is maybe not as appreciated by people in history? Just anything about the group that you would want to highlight, something that maybe goes under the radar?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is I don't know that everybody understands the impact that Bob had on American music.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he took several forms of music to create what is now known as Western swing, but he impacted so many artists, and the obvious ones are the Merle Haggards and the George Straits, asleep at the wheel, if you will. But there's so many that aren't as obvious, because I mean, even the way that country artists dressed in the 40s and 50s, that came from Bob Wills. You could argue that it did anyway.
Certainly.
So I think that's the biggest thing to me. And that's something that we try to educate during the theater shows that we do. You won't see it as much at Cain's because it's a true dance. But when we play at theaters, we try to educate the public as to what impact Bob had, not only just on Western swing, but American music in general.
Right.
Well,
Jason can probably add to that.
Well, and the only thing I wanted to add is that Bob Wills' influence crosses so many boundaries. You mentioned country artists, that were influenced by him, but I mean, Bob Wills was certainly partially, if not mostly, responsible for the invention of rock and roll, in my opinion. They were playing those hard kind of boogie rhythms with a crunchy Junior Bernard guitar tone long before Elvis and Little Richard. They were grooving, and even Bob said, "I've been rocking and rolling for a long time."
Yeah.
So his impact and his influence is far-reaching.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jason, just to reiterate, the Bob Wills Birthday Bash show is coming up March 8th and 9th. Obviously, an important time for, I think, generations of fans now who've been going. What do you hear from the fans or from the people who this event is so cherished by them?
Well, they're thankful that we're doing what we can to carry it on, and they love it as much as we do. Of course, we do it for a living, but I still feel like I get the best seat in the house at every show that we play. So mostly, gratitude from people for trying to keep it going. We get a lot of requests, and I mean, I think about kind of, I guess, the future of Western swing and traditional country, music and Western swing, and kind of fret about it sometimes. But when you got the old folks, you've got, younger folks, you've got kids, little bitty ones out there just dancing as hard as they can to Roly Poly or some of that, the Bob Wills tunes with the good beat. If a kid likes it, you're doing something right. And so this little girl came up to the band and said, I tell this story sometimes, but she must have been probably 4 years old. She walks up and looked at me and said, "Cow's milk," which I knew to hear the milk cow blues. And so that makes me good, that, and a lot of people have told me over the years that when they hear us, they say, gosh, I didn't even realize how much that I loved and or missed Western swing and Bob Wills music till I heard you guys play. So, it's timeless, and I think that comes across, and it's just fun, and people feel that. So
Yes. And then finally, Brett, closing, and Jason, if you want to add on, why is it so important that we keep on this Bob Wills tradition, like we're going to be doing at Cain's, and then also the state capitol?
Well, again, he created a unique form of American music, and I just think that it's important. It's just something that we bonded over many years ago. Jason and I never really even thinking about where we're at now. I mean, because at the time, I think we thought those Texas Playboys would live forever, and unfortunately, they haven't. And then this opportunity came along, and it's just important to continue for people to know where music came from, and we're expanding our audience every chance we get. Every time we go back to places, we have bigger crowds than we did before. This thing at Cain's Saturday, that's why we added a second night. I mean, Saturday night was selling out. In the beginning, it was, when we first formed this band, it would sell out the day of, but then it would sell out, the day before, and then a week before. Now we're doing 2 nights, and that's we're gonna go back to some other places that Bob Wills frequented for the second time this time around. So it's just important to that, and that's our mission, is to perpetuate this legacy.
And it's nice to have a venue like Cain's that acknowledges that history and wants to keep it alive.
For sure. And I just, and the cool thing too is, having done this book about Cain's, I dug pretty deep into it. But the first time I actually set foot in Cain's, I was a student at the University of Arkansas, and I drove over to see Alvin Crow for a Bob Wills birthday weekend or birthday celebration in 1988. And it snowed so bad that nobody was there. I don't even know how I got there from Fayetteville. But anyway, then the next year, Larry Schaefer, or maybe it's 2 years later, Larry Schaefer, who was owned the Ballroom at the time, started bringing in actual Texas Playboys and to do it. And that's when, so to the best of our knowledge, 1990 was the first year. Well, Larry left in 99. The Rogers family took over in 2003. And it's still continued every year. It's been important to the Rogers family to continue to do it, and through different versions of the Texas Playboys, if you will. But so once Leon and Tommy could no longer do it, Tommy also, we stepped in, and we've been able to take it hopefully to another level. Maybe it can be a festival.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah,
I think too, for all of those reasons, to keep on doing it, and why it's important, not only for the musical significance, but also for many of the same reasons that Bob Wills loved to do it, and that's to bring people together. And it's a community, and it's a family, and we know most of the people that show up out there, to dance to us. And Lord knows this world needs a little bit of good feeling stuff these days.
Yeah.
So to me, that's as important as anything, is to give everybody an excuse and a place to be, and to come and celebrate life and Bob Wills music. And
yes, it's an important job that you're doing.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a great time to be a Bob Wills fan, or maybe if you're trying to get familiar with Bob Wills, there's no better time than the birthday bash, and if you're closer to Oklahoma City, the Bob Wills Day at the state capitol. Jason, Brett, thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Ben.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Man, I've never been to the Bob Wills birthday bash. I need to go.
It sounds like fun. I have a little bit of a beef, a
Okay.
centennial beef here. Um, this is sort of a this is I'm just gonna call them out. Texas are kind of appropriators.
Yeah, okay.
Like
I like where you're going.
like the Texas Playboys, fine, name your band that, but like you played in Tulsa and you came up in Tulsa and you were on KVOO and playing at Cain's,
Mhm.
and why isn't it the Tulsa Playboys? Like,
Yes.
why does Texas get credit? I just like it's one of those things Texas gets credit for that it doesn't actually deserve. Like Bob Wills and Western Swing and Longhorn Cattle,
Yeah.
all Oklahoma things that
Yeah.
Texas gets all the credit for, and I don't like it.
Yeah. I feel pretty comfortable saying that we probably would not know who Bob Wills is if he never came to Oklahoma. So,
Right? I
yes.
mean, that's where all those shows were coming from. That's where everyone who heard him around the country was hearing him at Cain's.
Yes. Very
But
true.
because it was the Texas Playboys, anyway, it just
I think a
Texas
lot of
does
people will
this.
agree with you, especially at Bob Wills Day at the Oklahoma State Capitol. For
On
sure.
YouTube. I want put it in the comments. I want to hear. I
Yes.
want to hear about it.
Yeah, please do put it in the comments. Well, now it's time for Podvents. This is the part of the show where we go through PavloK.com event calendar, pick out a few of our favorite gyms. Is there anyone who'd like to go first this week?
I'll go first.
All right, thank you, Carly.
Oh, you're welcome. My event this week is really fun. It's the Possum Trot 5K, and it is at Salt Plains State Park in Jet, which is one of my favorite places in the entire state of Oklahoma, because both the Great Salt Plains Lake inside of the park and obviously the area in the Salt Plains National Wildlife Refuge is very, very salty because it is the remnant of an ocean when Oklahoma used to be under the ocean 455 million years ago. So, like, when you stand out there, you're just like connected to something that is like so old, and that is just mind blowing to me. But anyway, on an earlier episode of the podcast, we were complaining about, well, mostly I was complaining about the fact that 5Ks typically start really, really early in the morning. But this one starts at 10 a.m., which is the perfect time, in my
Okay,
opinion,
I
for
like it. I
us.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's on March 8th, and it starts at the Nathan Boone Trailhead. So you just meet there at 10 a.m. And it's actually a free race as well, which is a very unique thing. There will be t-shirts to purchase at the event. So you don't get a free shirt, but you can just run for free if you want to. So yeah, it's the Possum Trot 5K. It has nothing to do with possums, but possums are awesome. So yeah.
Yeah,
Possums are
name anything
awesome.
after possums.
Yeah,
I agree.
perfect. And there are possums at Salt Plains State Park too, so it
Yeah,
works
you
out.
might see one.
hmm
They
Mhm.
eat ticks. We like them.
hmm
Yes, they do us a favor. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I like the 10 o'clock start time. I think maybe at least maybe in summer that would be too late, but during the pre-summer ones, yeah, 10 a.m.
Perfect. Yeah.
Sounds good to
Oh,
me.
March 8th might be cold anyway, so
We still don't know. It's TBD at this point.
Layers are important.
mhm.
Yeah.
Editor-in-Chief Nathan Gunner, what is your pod event this time?
Well, mine is also on Saturday, March 8th. And it is speaking of this guy actually could use a possum to he probably has one as a friend who eats ticks around him so he doesn't have to deal with it, because this is the Oklahoma Bigfoot Symposium.
Oh,
It's going to be Saturday, March 8th at CC Camp south of Stillwell. It's off of US Highway 59. If you're going south out of Stillwell, CC Camp is immediately to the east after a few miles. This is hosted by Oklahoma Bigfooters, who are a Bigfoot enthusiast group here in the state. They have some cool guest speakers coming. One of them is Ken Gerhard, who's a cryptozoologist. He's appeared on the History Channel's Monster Quest, Monster Project on Nat Geo Wild, and Unexplained Files on the Science Channel, just to name a few of his many, many listed television appearances. I don't know if he has a PhD in cryptozoology.
that would be,
say.
yeah, I would like to figure that out.
But he's a known Bigfoot expert. People look to him for all things Bigfoot. So it's really cool that he's coming. And then Todd M. Nice, which I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Niess. He is a Bigfoot witness turned researcher. He's a U.S. Army vet who he says he has seen Bigfoot 3 times. and has now got this kind of plan that he's working on to basically have like Diane Fossey type researchers camp out in locations for like 45 to 60 days looking like hoping to see Bigfoot. So that's an interesting thing that he's going to be talking about. There'll also be seminars on what Bigfoot markers look like. So how to know if you're encountering signs of Bigfoot in your local wilderness. How to cast tracks. You know, you've seen that on TV where they find something that looks like a footprint and so they pour the plaster into it. You can learn how to do that. Anyway, there's a whole bunch more of that. This symposium is free if you want to be a vendor. They are still taking vendor applications and it's $25. And you can get all the information that you need at okbigfootsymposium.com. And the phone number is 918-575-3139. And I think there might be a Bigfoot in Carly's living room.
I like how they have the Bigfoot hunt and studied down to it's a science, really.
Apparently. Yeah, I don't know how you become a cryptozoologist. I don't know what like the career path is.
Right.
But
they're very organized.
Go and ask him.
Yes, absolutely. All right, photo editor Megan Rossman, what is your event this time?
It is the Grand Lake Boat and Sport Show, which is going to be March 7th through March 9th at the Grand Lake Association and Visitor Center. And it has been going on for 28 years. And there will be boats, boating accessories, electronics, dock services, and much more. And it is very affordable. It is only $5 for general admission, and it is free for seniors and kids under 10, free for seniors and veterans, and kids under 10 are free, or 10 and under are free. And then you'll be able to check out pontoon boats, tri-toon boats, deck boats, fishing boats, and there will be experts on safety, financing, insurance, repair, maintenance, outboard and inboard engines. And so this event, boating on Grand Lake, means a lot to me because it is where I have done most of my boating in Oklahoma, and been on 2 boats that almost sunk, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a lot of, those are some outdoor adventures that I've had.
Those are adventures. I'm glad you did not sink.
Yes, I am too. One time, everybody stood on one side of the boat all of a sudden to take a picture, and also we were dragging our anchor, and then the other time somebody forgot to put the drain plug in the bottom of the boat, so the whole was filled with water. Yeah.
Now,
anyway.
Is this a pontoon boat? Is that what we're talking about?
The one, were they both pontoon? The one that everybody stood on one side, that was a pontoon boat. The other one was some other kind of boat. I'm not sure what.
I can just imagine everyone being on one side. It's like, oh wait.
This is the Oklahoma Today podcast reminding you that boat safety is important.
Yes,
it is.
And they will probably have great boat safety tips out at that event at Grand Lake.
Yeah. Oh, yes, they will. They will indeed. So they'll tell you things like, don't get everybody on one side of the boat. Pull your anchor in when you're moving.
Yes. All good, helpful tips.
Mm-hmm.
Research editor Kirsten Stone, what is your pod event this week?
So mine goes back to Tulsa, same weekend as pretty much what's happening. March 7th through 9th. It is the Tulsa Irish Festival.
Ooh.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you have Irish ancestry, Kirsten?
I do. Yeah. I should go to this.
You should.
But no, so the Tulsa Irish Festival, the first night on the 7th is for sponsors only, and it is 21 and up only, but you have pretty much all day on Saturday the 8th. It'll be going from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then on the 9th, it'll be from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., as well as a Catholic Mass that will start at 11 a.m. for anyone who wants to attend. It'll be at the Dream Keepers Park in Tulsa, and there's going to be Celtic bands, food, great authentic food. There'll be 30 plus vendors, Irish dance lessons, face painting games, all kinds of fun that's just going to be going on all throughout the park. And tickets for it will start at $15, and you can get those at tulsairishfest.org.
Sweet.
Yes.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I love Irish food. It doesn't get enough credit for how good it is.
Yeah, no, same.
Some of it, yeah.
All right, Megan. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right.
I really like some of it.
Yes.
Mhm.
No, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of good Irish food out there. So my event this time, first of all, I've got to ask, do we have any collectors in the room? Anyone collect anything?
I collect rocks.
Rocks.
Oh, I do too, actually.
Megan remembers that he's a rock collector now.
Do you want to see one?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I have a really good one that I never take out of the house because it's very.
This is my favorite thing since pandemic is the like, do you want to see my room energy of a Zoom call?
Yes.
You know what I
collect
mean? Like,
candles.
Oh, look at that. Carly, you
That
have
is
to say
nice.
something to the camera.
that's very
Yeah.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
corundum, and I got it in New Mexico.
I love it.
That is a very pretty rock.
It's really pretty.
Well, I bring that up because my event, I am actually 100% going to this event. This is the GAS Card Expo at the State Fairgrounds this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, I don't know if you all knew this, but my family, not only am I going to this event, but my entire family is going. And my family is like huge trading card freaks. Like that's how my mom and dad like started their that was like their shared interest.
Aw, sweet.
And
Like baseball cards?
baseball cards, yeah, that
Okay.
and football cards, they were into that, just any sports
Okay.
cards. And actually I have two siblings, and for each of us, they bought a full card set for our birth years. So I have a full baseball card set for 1990. My brother has 1994, and my sister was born in 98, which I believe is the inaugural WNBA season. So they bought her a inaugural WNBA set. Yes.
1993 Marvel.
Ah, nice.
Wow.
Yes.
My-
And that
My brother and I collected these.
that is the cool thing about this show is that not only is it a sports card show, but trading cards encompasses so much more these days. So they'll have Pokemon and some other types of cards there as well. Collecting and trading is a big deal, especially ever since the pandemic. People really got back into these hobbies, and you can like brush it off if you want. But my brother has funded an entire Disney trip off his card collecting hobbies. Yes.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of money to be made here at the GAS Card Expo. It's the best place to buy, sell, and trade. It's a traveling expo, so a lot of the serious people in card collecting from around the country will be at the State Fairgrounds, at the Pavilion. Let me bring up those times. At Friday, it'll be open from 4 to 8 p.m., Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if you want to know more information, you can call 816-708-8535 or visit GAS shows, that's gas-shows.com. And yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh,
I'll be out there. But yes, it is gas. It'll be a gas.
Shows.com.
I'll be out there. I don't really collect anymore, but I do have like
Nice.
a lot of surface interest in it, especially since my family is so wild about it. And also, I believe there's like a like streetwear festival also going on at the same time at the fairgrounds. So a lot
fun.
of things right up my alley there.
That really sounds like a lot of fun. You're gonna love that. You're gonna have the best time.
Yeah, I will. I'll give you all the full report after I come back from it. Maybe I'll come back with some valuable cards.
You'll have some kind of new hobby.
Yes.
You'll be collecting, I don't know.
Something. I'll be collecting something after this. All right. So now it's time for star of the show. I'm gonna have to give it to boat safety. I mean, that's always a Oh,
Yeah. It's
Mostly because
important.
it reminds us that like the cold isn't forever and eventually we'll be back on boats. Is that
Yeah.
why?
Yeah, we'll be putting this cold behind us really quick.
It's supposed to be like 70 next week. And I'm just like, if I can just make it through the next few days without losing my mind.
Or your feet.
Overtime's already.
Yeah, or my feet. Yeah, that'll be something.
Well, that's what we have for you this week. This has been the show. From here to El Reno, home of the famous Sid's Diner. It's the Oklahoma Today podcast. Head to oklahomatoday.com or pick up our latest issue on newsstands right now. You can send your feedback to oktpod@travelok.com. We'll talk to you again next week.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Live from the studio next time, we promise.